Hi everybody, and welcome and good luck if you've got your exam coming up. So we're looking at the speaking today, and we're particularly going to look at the part 3, okay? A very important part of the speaking. It is where the examiner makes their final decision. You can go up and you can go down in the part 3. So it is important to make a good impression in this section. So you will do that by how you structure your answer, how clear you are in how you deliver it, and using the right kind of vocabulary. Okay, so we're going to look at all of those different aspects today. So just as an overview at the beginning, what can you tell me about the speaking part 3? Can anyone give me some information, how long it is, the kinds of questions that they ask? Okay, yes, that's right, Neo. It does tend to be more difficult. Amada, hello, Amada. It's related to part 2. That's very good. Ramathan, abstract questions, very, very important, and 5 minutes maximum, as Lou says. Yeah. So there'll be 2 sets of questions, but they're all connected. They're all on the same topic, which is related to the topic that you talked about in part 2. But rather than being on a personal topic, for example, tell me about your favorite teacher, the questions in part 3 will be abstract, they'll be general, so it would be about education rather than about anything related to your teacher. Okay, and yeah, minimum 4 minutes, maximum 5 minutes. The examiners do try to keep very tightly to that time frame. That's their responsibility though, not yours. Okay, so the way that the examiner introduces the part 3 is always the same. So if you'd been talking about a restaurant in part 2, we've been talking about a restaurant, and now I'd like to ask you some more general questions related to this or about this, okay? So that's always going to be the way that it starts. And now we're going to think about, try and sort of predict the kind of general abstract questions you might get in this case. So you've talked about a restaurant that you enjoy. And if we look at the picture to sort of give us some clues, what kinds of part 3 questions might the examiner ask about food? Any ideas? Generally speaking on food. Okay, remember, Ebru, that this is abstract, not specific. So they could talk about diet. Okay, we need to focus on the abstract issue here. Okay, healthy food, that would work. Popular restaurants in your area, that could definitely be it. Kind of cuisine, yeah. Okay, but avoid the personal questions. That's the most important thing, okay? But it could be about your culture, or it could be about your country. Yeah, okay, I like this one. Daman, what kind of food do people in your country like? Okay, fast food versus healthy food, eating habits, traditional food. Okay, I think we're getting much more along the right lines, different types of food. Okay, could be about different kinds of cuisines. But remember, it's abstract. It's not about your preferences or your likes or dislikes. Okay, again, it could be packaged food, Jagmar, but not about your preferences. It would be more like, what do people, why do people choose packaged food? Okay. Okay, let's move on a little bit more to the restaurant. So again, focusing very much on the general nature of the questions. What kind of questions do you think the examiner might ask about restaurants in part 3? Okay, could be talking about service, or maybe what's important, when someone goes to a restaurant, like food and ambience. Okay, different kinds, costs. Okay, differences in different types of restaurants, Bindu, that's good. Or the, or could be asking about tips, yes. But not your favorite dish, okay? We really got to move away from these personal questions, yeah, okay. And again, it wouldn't be about, have you been in a luxury restaurant? That's a personal question, okay. All right, let's move on. So what about food in supermarkets? What kind of questions do you think the examiner might ask you about that? Okay, could be about quality, could be about variety, something like that. Remember, these are the kind of questions you're going to have to give opinions on. Okay, that's very nice, boy. I like that. Kind of comparing supermarkets and, you know, small foods. Yeah, should the supermarket be the main place? Okay. Yeah, what kinds of foods make people like to buy, Lou? That's right. Trends. Okay, very good. That's getting shopping habits much more like what we're talking about for part 3. And then the last picture, we're looking more at sort of agriculture. So what about agriculture? What kind of questions might the examiner ask related to this? Okay, GM food, very good. Urban farming, organic, not organic. Okay, food waste, very good, guys. Now you're really getting it. Climate change, nutritional value. Okay, that's very good. Okay, preventing, yeah, pests, insects. Okay, much more like it. So remember, it's always going to be asking general questions. None of the questions in part 3 are personal, okay, or about you. And you shouldn't answer about your preferences. You have to keep your answers general as well. That's very, very important, okay? So let's move on from this. So we're going to look a bit more specifically now at the sort of the personal versus the general questions. So what kind of food do you like? Is that a part 1 or a part 3 type question? Okay, very good. So it's a personal question, very common in part 1, definitely not going to be asked in part 3. Okay, so how might we adapt that so it was more like a part 3 question? How could you make that more general? Any ideas? Okay, very good, Hugh. Yeah, so we're talking about more like your culture or your country. Yes. So what are some popular foods? What do people commonly eat in your country or in your region? Okay. Oh, very nice, Ludovica. Preferences across generations. That could definitely be a question. Okay, so, you know, really compare those 2 questions between the personal and the general, and, you know, notice the kind of question you're going to get in the part 3. All right, so we're going to look a bit more at this. So again, look at the first question. Do you think that's a part 3 question? No, okay, again, it would be very much a part 1 personal type of question, okay? And again, how could a similar kind of question about restaurants, but that a part 3 question might be like? So here it's about how do you choose which restaurant to go to? Okay, so yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. How do people in your country choose restaurants? Yeah, which kinds of restaurants are more popular? Okay, very good. Yeah, exactly like that. Okay, so for example, why do people go to different types of restaurants? Okay, so different restaurants for different occasions. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so look at this one. Do you prefer eating in a restaurant? That's right, Bindu, or cooking at home? Exactly. It's part 1. Do you prefer? That's not going to happen in part 3. Okay. So we've got restaurant, we've got cooking at home. Can you think of a kind of part 3 question that could be related to that kind of comparison. Okay, that's fine. Ravi, how often do people eat out in your country? Or, yeah, why do people prefer to eat in a restaurant, or why do they prefer to cook at home? Okay, very good. Very nice, Andre. Advantages and disadvantages. I think that would be a very common question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of eating in a restaurant? Or what are the advantages and disadvantages of eating at home? Okay, very good. Comparing quality of the food or the expense, Anna, that's right. Okay, but remember your answer needs to be general as well. Okay, so we've got which is more popular in your country, eating in a restaurant or cooking at home. Okay, that's perfect, April. That's exactly right. Okay, have a look at this one then. So this was more related to the supermarkets. Has your taste in food changed since you were a child? Okay, very much a part one question. Could be talking about your childhood. Okay, that's part one. So we're talking about trend over time. So what kind of question could you ask? Okay, very nice, Aista. Do our tastes change as we grow up? That's a very nice way. Do you think taste in food changes? Any other ideas related to that? Okay, yeah, food habits of different generations. I think that's a very likely part three question. Okay, and we've just kind of asked a general, how has the type of food people eat changed over the last few years? Okay, yeah, maybe what people like to eat today. It's very common to compare, so comparing the past with the present in some way. Okay, but you're definitely getting the part three type questions now. That's great. Okay. And then we have, what will you have for dinner tonight? Okay, so again, yes, very much a part one question because you're talking about yourself. And we're looking forward to the future, very near future, but it is the future. So what could be a more general question relating food to future? Thinking about the future here. Okay, well, we could be talking about what people like to eat at dinner. If we're thinking forward, yes, okay, very nice, Senna. What will people have for dinner in the future? Okay, so speculating about future trends, future habits related to food. Okay, yeah, or comparing nowadays with the future. Okay, for example, in the next decade, exactly, April. Okay. So very important to distinguish the part one questions, which are personal and require personal answers, with the part three questions, which are general and require general answers. Okay, so it's not just about understanding the question, but make sure that your answer is talking generally and that you're not just talking about your own preferences. Okay. So last one. So what do you think about fast food? Would definitely be a part one question. But what might be a part three question related to that? Okay, very good, Bindu. The disadvantages of fast food. Okay, very good. Why do people prefer to eat fast food even when they know it's bad for them? Okay, the effects on health, okay, how it's affected our lifestyle. Talking about the government, should the government impose tax? Very nice, Nanika, really, really good. Okay, so yeah, concerns, dangers, consequences related to a diet of fast food. Okay, or yeah, very good, men even talking about the advertising of fast food. That's come up quite often in the past, targeting children, you know, related to fast food. That I've seen that one before. So good, very, very good. That's very nice the way you're doing it. Okay. So let's look a little bit more at these types of questions. Yes, you're right. Convenience over health demand is probably the most important issue. So let's look at the question types now. So whatever the topic that the part 3 is on, there are certain types of questions that you are likely to be asked. And for all of those types of questions, there are linking phrases and introductory phrases that you can use that are going to help the examiner follow your question. Okay, sorry, follow your answer. So these are the types of questions. So you could be asked to describe, okay, or give reasons. Giving an opinion is a very common one. Making a comparison, as we saw there, between today and the past, okay, and looking forward to the future. So you can apply these types of questions to food, to work, to relationships, to technology, you know, any kind of topic, you're going to get the same kinds of questions, okay? So we're going to look at the questions that we just went through, the part 3 questions, and look at what type of question that is. So what about the first one? Some people think fast food's unhealthy. Okay, very good. Yeah, okay, so that's giving an opinion. Probably the most common one is asking for your opinion. Okay, what about this one? What type of question is that? Which is more popular? Okay, very good. So comparing two different things, home and restaurant, city and countryside, men and women, very, very common question. Okay, what about the next one? What do you think? Okay, very good, past and present. So looking at how something has changed over a period of time, okay? And then we've got the why. Okay, yeah, okay, so explaining why, explaining a situation. What are the reasons for that? Okay, what are some popular foods in your country? This was the first one we looked at, I think. Yeah, so describing festivals, describing holidays, dishes in your country, that kind of thing. Very often the first question that you get asked in the part 3. And so the last one is clearly going to be, yeah, speculating. So trying to predict the future, trying to look forward to how things are going to be in the future. Okay, so you can put pretty much all of the questions you get asked in the part 3 into one of those categories. Okay, and then you can use the phrases that work for that specific category. Okay, also gives you a couple of seconds to think, because you have that introductory phrase which leads you in, and then you give the actual, the specific information that you are going to give. Okay, and it really helps the examiner follow your answer. Okay, so let's have a look at this question or this answer. What do you think the question was to give that answer? Any ideas? What the question might have been? Yeah, it could have been an opinion or an obesity. It's a bit hard to say, isn't it? Because it's just very, very general. It could be about fast food. It could be about obesity. It could be about, you know, different health issues, diet, fitness. Yeah, okay. So there's no linking expressions there, okay? There's no introduction. There's no way for the examiner to be following what that person is saying, okay? So let's have a look at a different way of answering the same question. And how is that different from the first one? What have we added here that helps the examiner? Yeah, okay, so we've used expressions that show we are giving a reason, okay? So if we have a look at those, we call them signposting expressions. So basically you are signposting, just like you're driving on a road, you're using signposts to show the examiner the way and to make it easy for him to follow your answer, Okay, very, very important. Remember, it's not just fluency, it's fluency and coherence, and giving a coherent answer, particularly in the part 3, much more so than in the part 1, is very, very important. Okay, if the examiner gets it all lost within your answer, you know, the marks are going to go down quite steeply for for fluency and coherence. Okay. So let's have a look at these expressions a little bit more. So I think it's because that's the main reason why. Very, very clear that I'm giving reasons here. Okay, I'm not making the examiner guess what I'm doing. All right. Anybody think of any other expressions that you can use to introduce a reason or a cause for something? Okay, that's maybe more of an opinion one. Remember, we're looking at causes. Okay, well, the reason for this is Bindo. That's very good. Okay, remember, we're looking at causes here, not really opinions. Okay, very nice, Taiwa, due to the fact that. Okay. Okay, well, that's the main reason or the principal reason. So let's look at a few of these different types of expressions. Okay, so we've got here the 6 question types that we just looked at. Okay, I'm going to put up some expressions and I want you to tell me where they belong. So you can just put the number. So if we look at the first one, I couldn't agree more. Okay, all right, very good. Exactly. And what about the second one? What are we doing in the second one? Okay, bit of a mix there going on. Yes, that's good, Neo. Yeah, we are describing. Okay, so different types of, different kinds of, different sorts of. Okay. What about this next one? We've got a time expression we're using here. Okay, very good, exactly. And what about the next one? Okay, speculating, really, really important. Okay, what about this one? Okay, good, making a comparison between 2 different things. Although, yes, I'd say is an opinion. So those of you who put an opinion, yes, you're right. You could put that in the opinion slot. Okay, the main reason for this is when we look, oh, you're all ahead of me, number 4. Okay, I very much doubt that people, a very nice expression, that people will, okay, yeah, okay, very much a kind of doubting or being convinced is a speculation kind of phrase. All right, I'd have to say it's because, thinking about the second half, yeah, okay, so we're giving a reason there. Again, yes, those of you put 1, that would be, it's partly an opinion as well. Okay, several key differences. Okay, yes, very much a comparison. All right, most popular kinds of something or other. Okay, yeah, straightforward description. And then got another time phrase. Okay, good. So we're looking at the trends over time. And then finally, okay, I agree to a certain extent. Okay, very good. So very, very, very important in the part 3 particularly is that you introduce your ideas and you introduce each part of your answer with some kind of phrase, making it very clear to the examiner exactly what you're doing. Okay, what is the purpose of the sentence? It's just like when you do the paragraph in the writing, you know, you've got to make everything clear, you've got to make everything link together. So this is my opinion. In my opinion, this is the reason. The main reason is all the way through your answer. Very well structured answer is what we're looking at, not just fluency. Okay, fluency without structure is not going to get you a good mark in the first section. Okay, so let's look a bit more at how we're going to structure that. And we're going to focus on that last question we looked at on the fast food. Okay, So what kind of question is it? Just to go back to that. If you remember those. Okay, yeah, very good. It's an opinion question. Okay. So we're going to look at a way of doing it. We've got a very nice acronym here for you to remember. Okay. So answer the question, first of all, using whatever phrase relates to the kind of question that it is. So in this case, it's an opinion question. So you're going to start with your opinion. Yeah, okay. So I think, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, Niloufar, exactly. Then give the reason for your opinion. So again, it's kind of like supporting evidence that you have in the writing task too. Give the reason for it, okay? Try and give an example, you know, a specific example, maybe from your country, your culture, your city. Then you can give another point of view, maybe somebody, you know, the general opinion, if it contrasts with your own. And then a nice wrap-up summary sentence at the end, which also signals to the examiner that you're done with that question, and then they can move on to the next question. Okay, very nice expressions you're coming up with there, Niloufar. So let's see how this works in terms of an actual example. So I've got some missing words here. If you can try and fill in the missing words, that would be great. So I agree to some extent or degree. Yeah, that would be fine. Okay, so very clear opinion phrase to start off with. But then you have to explain why you agree. Okay. So how can we carry on giving a reason? This is one sentence. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's we're actually looking for because, yeah. Or but yeah, if you were going to give a couple of reasons, definitely firstly and then secondly, or first of all, secondly. Basically is a very nice introductory phrase. Tanishk, yeah, okay. Or most importantly, Lokesh as well. Okay, there is far too, what's our missing word here? Okay, very good. Absolutely. And then you give a specific example. Okay, so in this case, we would say for, okay, good, for example. So we're using these phrases all the way through, not just to introduce the answer, but to introduce each part of the answer. Okay, could be for instance as well. Works very well when you're speaking. Okay, bit of factual information here. How many teaspoons do we reckon a fizzy drink is? Is good. Oh, again, this is why you're not stopping drinking them. Up, 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 up. You know, up. Okay, downed in 2000 is maybe a little bit much. Apparently 40 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can of fizzy drink. Yes, so exactly, Maimuna. Wow, that should make you give them up immediately. Okay, so very specific example there with a fact. I don't know if it's a fact or not. I'm assuming it is. Okay, then we can give another way of looking at this. So we're giving the alternative point of view. Okay, exactly. On the other hand, you know, an alternative argument is freedom is more important, you know, let people make their own decisions. Okay. So what kind of missing word? Okay, very nice, Ricardo, even if it's really unhealthy. Okay. And then we summarize, we bring it all together. So how do we introduce our summary? Okay, on the flip side is a very nice expression, Carlos, for the speaking. You couldn't use it in the writing because it's not academic, but it would definitely work very well in the speaking. Yeah. To conclude is a little bit formal. Yeah. So I think overall is better, or in the end, or at the end of the day. These are more spoken ones, or ultimately, something like that. Yeah. So fast food isn't healthy. Okay, but I don't think it should be banned. Exactly. Okay, good. So we've got a very clearly structured answer there, and we've introduced all or each of the parts of our answer with a clear signposting expression. Okay, so that would work very, very well. Okay, very easy for the examiner to follow, very concise, good use of language. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, and like this, you know, kind of 4 or 5 sentences is a good part 3 answer, basically. Yeah, it's long enough without you going on too long and getting a bit lost, which is another thing that happens. Don't have to talk forever. That's enough. Yeah, and then you can move on to the next one. Okay, so let's have a look at this for a different kind of one. So the other one we were looking at is why, so giving reasons. Why do people go to different types of restaurant? So how might we start our answer, given that this is a giving reasons question? Okay, well, we can always start with your opinion. Okay, very nice, Hamada. There are many reasons why. Okay, or chocolate. There are several reasons, Sadaf. Yeah, so remember, reflect the kind of question it is in your opening sentence. It's very important. Yeah, several reasons, different reasons, many reasons, something like that. Yeah. Okay, a plethora of reasons, Amish, very nice. So yeah, we got a quick opinion because, you know, let's face it, they're all opinion questions in some ways. I'd say that what are we looking at there? Okay, Marta's already ahead. Yeah, it depends on the occasion. Okay. Okay, that's very nice, man. Yeah, so it depends on the occasion, and then we explain why that's the case. So, because, how could we continue that sentence? What could be our reason for saying the first sentence? Depends on the occasion, because, give me a sentence. Okay. Okay, there's various reasons for celebration, something like that. Yeah, or different moods. That's very nice. Okay. Yeah. So here we've got people go to, okay, maybe financial condition. You're very right. Yeah, different or certain is a nice alternative. Types of restaurants for different reasons. Okay, or yeah, various types. And then we give a specific example. Okay, so for, what's the word? Yeah, for example, or for instance, varying it a little bit. If you're celebrating a special occasion, so a birthday or, okay, or a wedding, yeah, or a baptism or an anniversary, something like that. Yeah, we've gone for anniversary. Yes, fancy restaurant, Nilafar, exactly. You might go to a more, okay, a more formal restaurant, more decent restaurant, high end, very nice. Yeah, very good. Yeah, we went for formal, but, you know, fancy, expensive, something like that works very well. Okay. Then we can go and think about another way at looking at this, gives you a bit more to say. So how could we introduce our contrast of opinion? With just one word in this case. Yeah, so again, on the other hand, however, something like that. Yeah, okay. If someone just wants to, got a nice little idiomatic expression here, grab a bite, grab a lot to eat. I like that. Grab a bite to eat. Yes, very good. Grab a bite to eat. So a quick snack, something very small, more convenient to go to a fast food place. Okay. And then bring it all together, show the examiner you're coming to the end. So how can we introduce our summary? Okay, good for us. So again, overall, or yeah, basically, it's a nice way to summarize. Ultimately, I think what's missing there? Okay, it could be the kind of restaurant, the type of restaurant. Okay, or the choice is very nice, Hamada. Yeah, I think the choice of restaurant is slightly more high level word to use in that case. Okay. So just having a look at some others. So these were the other ones that we looked at. If you remember, we looked at the different types of questions. So what we could do is, you know, take those away, think about how you would answer them, maybe use the acronym that we've looked at. If anyone wants to try doing that in the chat, that would be fine. Okay, we've got one more there. Thinking about the whole way that you would answer your question. Okay, remember, answer, reason, example, alternative, and then summarize. Okay, so let's move on to the questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Annelie. That was a great presentation. So yeah, thank you for guiding us through part 3 of the test. And thank you guys for giving such good answers. You were smashing it, so well done. We will have some time now to discuss some of your questions. I can see there are many in the Q&A, so we'll get on to them in a moment. If you do have more general questions, please add them to the Q&A and we'll focus on those ones first, okay? And Jessa, yeah, we'll go back to the previous slide. In fact, I think Annelie, you're ahead of me. Thanks. Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, guys, before we discuss your questions, I would just like to do a little bit of promotion for our premium services. These include a speaking evaluation where you can book some time with an IELTS examiner. It could be myself or with Annelie or another member of our team, and they'll go through a full speaking test with you, and they can give you very detailed feedback on your performance. So if you are interested in taking the test soon, this can be a good way to help identify your areas of strength and weakness and work out how you can improve your score. So I'm going to put the link to that in the chat just now. That's on our website, IELTSonlinetest.com, premium services. I've also put the link to our YouTube channel there. We have all our webinars up on the YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch the recording from this session and all our previous webinars as well. So please feel free to check that out. So I think, Annelie, we can dive into some of these questions. Yeah. So Anonymous has a very general question. I still don't know if it's the same Anonymous or not.
We'll never know.
Are you the same Anonymous as before? We'd love to know.
We would.
Yeah. Anonymous is saying, I don't know anything about IELTS speaking. Can you please help me to get a band 8? So it's quite a general question. Annelie, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think, you know, definitely doing the mock test and getting some feedback as to where you are at the moment, because you know, it's very hard to say, not knowing where you are. You could be, you know, a 5, in which case that would be one thing you needed to do, or you could be a 7.5, and you know, which would be quite different. So I think very important to do the mock test with an examiner, find out your score and get some, you know, very specific feedback. I think, you know, getting the information about the format is very important, so that, you know, seeing some model answers, which you can find on the website as well. That would be an excellent way to understand what you need to do. But I think the really critical thing is to find out where you are at the moment and what you need to do in order to improve.
Absolutely. Yeah. For a band 8, there are some very specific things that you need to do to achieve that score, and detailed feedback is one way of identifying them. So I'd agree with that. I'd also like to say that we do have a number of other webinars on the IELTS speaking test on our YouTube channel. So you can check those out. We have them for part 1, for part 2 of the test, on culture and on people. These are very common IELTS topics, so you can check them out on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, a couple of related questions here from Hugh and from Ahmed. They are asking about what if I do not have even a single clue about the question? And also, you know, what if the topic in part 2 was on something I just don't have an answer for? You know, it's about restaurants, and actually I never visit restaurants, for example. Ahmed and Hugh, I think I can answer this one because we have addressed these questions in detail, again, in a video on our YouTube channel. So if you check out the IELTS mini videos on our YouTube channel, we have 2 very detailed videos about how to deal with unexpected topics in the test. So I'd recommend checking those out if you have time. Okay, let's see. A question here from Henry. Henry is asking, is the accent really important in the speaking test?
Okay, having an English accent, as it were, is not important. It's not what they're looking for. The issue is how much is your first language interfering with your production of English. So if it's making it hard for the examiner to understand what you're saying, then that is definitely going to bring your score down for the pronunciation section. But they are not looking for this person speaks as if they were born in the UK. That's not what it's about. It should be clear. It should be easy to understand. And remember that also within that pronunciation category, you have intonation, which is, you know, things like the pitch of your voice, the rhythm, pausing, stressing keywords, so that you don't have a kind of flat intonation or a monotone. But it's not about mimicking an English accent, no.
Yeah, absolutely. Question here from Subhash. They are asking, I want to know how I can get prepared for this module. Is there any service to talk with a native English speaker to do this? Subhash, we mentioned the speaking evaluation service we offer via our website. We're also having a special webinar tomorrow at 4 p.m. UK time, where you have the opportunity to speak with an examiner. That will be myself. And for everyone in the webinar, they will have an opportunity to ask questions and talk to the examiner. So I'll put the link to that in the chat. If it's something you're interested in, feel free to register for it. Okay, let's take a look at, I've just seen a question as well about nervousness. This is also in the Q&A. We do have a video on our YouTube channel, how to deal with nervousness and how to relax and speak with confidence. So please check out that video as well. It will help to answer your question there. So a question, this is a good question from Maria. How many minutes or seconds should I take to answer each question in part 3?
Yeah, I mean, I would say something like kind of 4, 5, 6 sentences is what you are looking at. You don't have to talk, you know, for a very long time. Having said that, if you are talking for a while, the examiner will probably just stop you and ask the next question. That's not a problem. That's not a negative thing. It's just that they want to, they need to have asked a certain number of questions within that 5 minutes for the part 3. But the most important thing is the structure. So you know, it's not necessary to just keep on going like we have here, you know, this kind of acronym, give your opinion, give a reason, give an example, sum it up, something like that, you know, and that's perfectly fine and acceptable for a part 3.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that kind of answers Stephen Wynn, your question about should I discuss as many aspects as possible when it comes to speaking part 3. So I think that's basically what you're saying, Annelie, is it's not essential to cover every topic and to keep going. It's better to have a kind of clear, well-structured answer with a beginning and a middle and then an ending, I think. Is that?
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. And you're likely, or you might get a bit lost yourself if you keep talking. It's quite easy to do, even as a native speaker,
I do it a
kind of
lot.
go, I've lost my train of thought there, and then or you start repeating. So yeah, just like this, 4 or 5 sentences, pick an example, pick a reason, enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
go on.
Definitely. Ruji is actually asking, I missed the first part of this webinar. It will be available on our YouTube channel in the next couple of days, Ruji. So you'll be able to rewatch it on our YouTube channel there. Let's see. Omish has a question. They are saying, should I use new vocabulary when I'm speaking?
Kind of depends what you mean by new vocabulary. I think you should be confident with the vocabulary that you're using. It's a bit risky to use anything that you're not sure about, because if you use it in the wrong context, that's, I think, going to have make more of a negative impression on the examiner. So yes, you need a wide range of vocabulary. That's very important, and that should be part of your preparation. But don't risk using a word that you're not sure about.
Okay, yep, definitely. I've just seen a message from Anonymous. They're saying it's their first time. So it's
Oh my gosh, it's
Anonymous.
different Anonymous, probably every time.
Yeah, and Anonymous, you're not being rude at all, so don't worry about that. It's absolutely fine to answer questions. We were just wondering, because we often have Anonymous visiting us. We weren't sure if you're the same one or not.
Got competing Anonymouses.
Yeah, exactly. You're asking, can I have a face-to-face conversation? That will be part of the webinar tomorrow. So if you'd like to go to our website, IELTSonlinetest.com, you can register for tomorrow's webinar, which is an interactive one. Because it's an additional one to our usual schedule, it is a paid-for one. There's a small charge, I believe it's $2. So, but it'd be well worth your time to have a chance to speak directly to an examiner. So that is question. I hope that helps, Anonymous. Brijesh, will we receive the recording at the end of the webinar? We're not able to send you the recording, but it will be posted on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch it in the next couple of days. Let's see. Good question from Anonymous as well. What should we do if we don't have any idea about what the examiner is asking? How can we compensate?
Okay, well, in the part 3, the examiner is able to change the way they ask the question. They can't do that in the part 1. All they can do if you don't understand is repeat. But in part 3, they can phrase it in their own way. And actually, depending on how you've been performing up until that point, they will decide to ask a more complicated question or possibly simplify their language. So the examiner will be responding to your level by the part 3 in terms of language. So that shouldn't be an issue. You can also ask the examiner to rephrase it or just say you're not quite sure if you don't understand what they've said.
Yeah, definitely. And we do have a video on this topic on our YouTube channel as well. So you can check that out for some additional tips there. 2 related questions about signpost expressions. So Fawaz is asking, how many marks will I lose if I don't use signpost expressions? And April has a sort of parallel question. Won't we sound like we're using a model answer if we use signpost expressions? So yeah, what's
sides? Yeah. I mean, it's not sort of a question of a number of marks. That's not how the examiners do the speaking or the writing, for that matter. It will really depend on how coherent your answer is. So if you don't use any signposting expressions, it is going to be more difficult for the examiner to follow what you're saying. It's a natural thing that people do. We do it as native speakers. It's helpful for the examiner, So I think that you would probably lose marks if you didn't use any at all. But it is really about how clearly structured your answer is. I understand what you're saying, April. You don't want it to sound memorized or you know, that you've sort of rehearsed this answer. But I don't think it does. Again, like I say, I think it's a natural thing to do. And what you say within those signposting expressions is going to be spontaneous, and that's what the examiner is, you know, is going to hear as well. Also make sure you vary them a lot. And as long as you're using them correctly and appropriately, I don't think it's going to sound memorized.
Yeah, absolutely. Question from Ranu. Again, this is a very general question. How can I improve my vocabulary? Ranu, this is a very detailed question. It's a very good question. We have recorded an answer to this on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out under IELTS mini videos. And I think we have a 5-minute explanation of different strategies you can use to improve your vocabulary. So I would check that out. This is quite a tricky question from Win. Win is asking, can we recommend some books which would help non-native speakers to improve their consonant clusters while speaking? Yeah, pronunciation kind of aids.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to the old standard. There's ship and sheep, or ship or sheep, should I say. There's these pronunciation books which are very, very good, and they go through all of the different consonants, vowels, consonant clusters. There's exercises, there's tapes, there's model ways of speaking. So those are very, very helpful. The BBC also has on YouTube, they have a whole pronunciation course that, you know, you can just watch, and they show you how to you know, form your mouth in order to make these sounds and these different clusters. I think also listening, you know, listening to the BBC, listening to documentaries is good for your ear. But the BBC pronunciation course on YouTube and the ship or sheep pronunciation guide is very good. I can't remember what the other one's called now. Jamie, do you remember? There's the
sure. There's
ship
one
or sheep, and one's a bit lower level and one's a bit higher level, but I always remember ship or sheep.
Yeah, I remember that one. I'm not sure. I know that there's an app from Macmillan as well. I think it's called Sounds, which can be quite useful for the phonetic alphabet as well. So that might help you to break down some of those more difficult sounds that there are. Great. We have a few minutes left, so we will try and get through as many questions as we can. There are a lot of your questions, so we'll do our best. If we're not able to answer your questions in this session, you can send them into our YouTube channel, comment on the videos. You can also write to us via our Facebook page, and you can join our webinar tomorrow as well, and you'll definitely have a chance to ask a question in person then. So a few more questions today. Nilofar is asking, is it necessary to give an example in part 3?
It's not necessary. It's just a good way of expanding your answer and giving some more information so that you have a full answer. If the examiner doesn't feel like you've given a full answer, they will say, why do you think that? Which is always, I think, quite frightening and difficult to answer when you feel like you're being, you know, why? So the more, you know, if the fuller the answer you give, the less likely it is that the examiner is going to kind of force you to add more information. You definitely need to give a long answer. It doesn't have to be an example, but you're certainly going to need to give reasons or other people's ideas, general opinions, or compare past or present. You know, you're going to have to back up your first statement with something. An example is usually a very easy, clear way of doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Good question here about body language. How important is body language in the test?
It's not something that's specifically rated. However, I think that body language goes along with intonation, and it is going to be important to have that, you know, have feeling or have expression in your answers. I do think that, you know, giving, how can I put it, an enthusiastic response goes down a lot better with the examiner than a very kind of you know, monotone response. So just putting a bit of feeling, expression, enthusiasm into your answer does make a big difference. And, you know, body language is a natural part of that. So, you know, feel free to express yourself with body language as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Annelie. I'm afraid that's all the time we have to answer your questions. I know a lot of you have been waiting patiently. We do have answers to many of these questions already on our YouTube channel. So please check out our IELTS mini vids series, where we answer many of these questions. I can see in the Q&A. We have provided answers to these already, so you can check them out on our YouTube channel. So I'd just like to say a very big thank you to all of you for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun presenting and yeah, discussing the test with you. And a big thank you to Annelie as well. So thanks, Annelie.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Good luck to everybody. Ta to Carlos, because he said ta. That's great. Thank you. Bye. Bye, 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 guys. Till next time, April.
And Annelie is away on holiday as well next week. So if you can wish Annelie have a great holiday, enjoy some time off.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Yeah, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Take care, guys. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Great. And yeah, guys, we'll be back. We have another webinar tomorrow. We have a webinar on Monday as well, and another one next Thursday. So you can find that on our website, IELTSonlinetest.com. So looking forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye for now, guys.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye,
Thank you. Bye bye. See you, Jamie. See you in 2 weeks.
see you then. Bye.
Bye bye.